and we're live, and we're always happy to see you. Thank you for joining us today for Heller Barnes. Ask Us Anything, and we have a killer guest here. And of course, people love when we have publishers show up simply because they're the ones you guys, you're gonna have work for the next 15 years just by attending this session here today. So, Johnny, how have you been? Blake, how you doing? Good to see you both.
Things are fine in New York City.
And Blake, where are you at?
I said, I'm out here in Denver, and it is very nice today. Starting to already get warm, but I'm able to be in my basement in a sweatshirt, so I'm not.
Oh, I lied. It's hotter than hell here. I haven't been out. I've been out with the dogs. I just looked at the temperature. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice if you enjoy that sauna-like feeling. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that here in LA.
Yeah, hardly at all.
We don't get the moist heat. We get the just, beat you down heat. So Blake, I know a little bit about your background. You work for this company. What do you call it?
I work for Deyan Audio.
Okay, and you know nothing about audio, is that right? You're in the you're the janitorial service. No, what do you do?
I'm an absolute grunt. I take care of toilets, sanitation requests.
Same here. That's what we call it, sanitation, and yeah.
But it's remote, so it's great.
Yeah, so got a really long plunger.
Now you come into this thing through a similar path than me, from what I understand. You are a bassist, and you did heavy metal. And what's your background? Instead of me telling you what you did.
Yeah, so I started. I actually wanted to learn guitar. I feel like most bass players start that way as a young kid if they don't pick it up. And was talking to a mom about it, and a family friend ended up giving me a bass and was like, "You can do this," and I ended up loving it. It was a 5-string. I believe it was an Epiphone Black, and I just started jamming on it, joined metal bands all throughout high school. My first 2 degrees, my associates and my undergrad, are actually in music. One is in vocal performance, and then my bachelor's is in composition and theory from the University of Arizona. But my junior or senior year, I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I had a friend that had a pirated version of the DAW Ableton and was making beats and was trying to record a song. And the person that was going to basically be his in-home engineer canceled for the day. So he called me up. He said, "I know you know how to hit spacebar and click a record button. Can you come help me out real quick?" We had just finished doing the electroacoustic part of our composition course. So we had literally just got done working in the DAW Digital Performer, making all kinds of weird sounds. I recorded about 8 different sounds I can make off a scooter, and then had to make a 3-minute just noise piece. It was pretty great. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
But that process and helping the friend out with recording, I realized that I actually really enjoyed being on the other side of the glass, so to speak. So instead of pursuing a master's degree, I went to the Center for Recording Arts and Sciences in Phoenix, Arizona, and I got a master's recording certificate from CRAS, and it was awesome. I was able to go from there and intern in Austin, Texas at Orb Recording Studios, and get a staff engineer spot there for a little bit, which was phenomenal time. I got to work with Chris Bell of, Erykah Badu, engineer. We worked on an album with Crowbots and TKO Records. It was phenomenal time. I learned a whole lot. And during that time, I started taking on audiobook work on the side. My background in audiobooks before that was I've used them my entire life to sleep and get through road trips. So I'm very, very intimately passionate about them. They need to sound good. They need to be level, because if they're not, I'm going to go insane on a road trip, or I'm not gonna be able to fall asleep because I'm just going to listen to all of it and hear it and pick them up. So I started editing books, and about 6 months into that, realized that this was where I really wanted to go. I still do record music. There's a couple rappers that I record out here. I have a drum guy back in Tucson, Arizona, named Joe Farrar, that we just send music back and forth with each other all the time. But my primary gig is pre-production, casting auditions, editing, and mastering audiobooks at Deyan now.
Now, how long have you been at Deyan?
I've been at Deyan since December of 2022.
Oh, a long time, yeah. Yeah. And how often you get? You know Deborah, yeah, I assume.
Oh yeah, we have never met face to face, but constant communication.
She's one of my dear friends. I've known her. I've known her for a very long time. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. Is she fun to work for?
Yeah, absolutely. She
What
was
can you not
very.
tell me?
I always,
She's the worst person
when-
I've ever known.
well, I don't enjoy talking shop when I'm still under contract. But no, in all honesty, one of my favorite parts about working for Deb is I always know when I'm casting a narrator that she really enjoys, because I'll just get an email out of nowhere. For instance, that's just like, hey, Johnny Heller already has the gig, audition him. And I'm like, it's a sequel. He's already got it. And she's like, perfect. But she loves to just touch base and be like, I really like this person, blah, 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 which is super helpful for me because I got into pre-production not knowing anything. It started as helping cover a desk and then has turned into, something I really enjoyed, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it kind of, as most things in the audio world tend to, it kind of fell into my lap and I said yes, and then continued to keep doing it.
Because of what I'm hearing, and this is all exciting and great, and don't take the question I'm about to try to phrase properly as any sort of criticism in any way. I'm curious. You don't have an acting or drama background, right?
I have a very amateur background in high school and local community theater.
Okay, so when you start casting, let's say, okay, here's Don Baarns actor, Johnny Heller actor, who's ever I don't know who's out there, Dan Belmont actor. So you get 3 voices.
Mm-hmm.
Or more. I don't know how many you had. We'll talk about that in a second. Are you told in advance at all, here's what the authors, first of all, I know the author's opinion is super important, far more than it used to be, but what are you told to listen for or look for? And is the decision between the 3 or 33 people who send stuff down to you? And either way, what is it you're seeking and how do you know what you're seeking?
Well, it really depends on the publisher. Some publishers have sent us a full 5-page essay that's a character brief per character on like a dual record.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they just say, the author is an older gentleman in his 50s. Let's try to get someone that will be an older gentleman in his 50s. And that's as vague as I get. Sometimes I get absolutely nothing.
Older gentleman in his 50s.
Yeah. That's a very... That's probably not word for word, but plus or minus 1 word types of things that we'll get.
It reminds me of when I was looking, people talking about the erotica genre and the different romance genres and stuff.
Oh man!
And they said the silver romance. I said, well, how old is that? And they said like 35, 40.
Oh no!
Yeah, you're perfect for that, Johnny. That's
yeah.
Me too.
So, you can't tell in this picture, but this is all pretty much gray now. Yeah.
And so how many, do you have a rough idea? So in a given month, in the last year, how many books have you worked on?
Oh man. In the last month, I've edited and mastered probably a combine of 7 or 8 and produced or in the works of probably 15 to 18. So definitely always a stream.
So we'll
Sometimes
just call
it's
it 10 to 15 books a month. And watch this, I can do some math. So over 10 months, I know that that'll be 150 books that you've done. So that's a lot. So you hear a lot of stuff. You see a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, hear a lot of stuff. I've worked in a lot of different genres. I've done everything from books on the history of mall architecture to now I'm, as I did with Johnny, I do Goosebumps. So very wide spectrum.
So as they come through, do you get to make the final decision, or are you talking to the author and trying to, like, let's say you decided, I know Heller's right for this one. Do you end up trying to influence them to just trust you and have you? Are you the casting?
It also depends on the publisher, depending on like our personal relationship with our contact at the publisher or just how the publisher operates in general. We might be a little more formal, or it might just be a, hey, we sent out 10 auditions, we got 6 back. I really enjoyed listening to Johnny's audition when I was skimming them before sending them off. Some publishers want only 4 or 5, no matter how many we send out. So we'll thin the herd, so to speak. That way, Some want us to just send everything, send absolutely everything. Some publishers will reach out and say, we want auditions, but we want auditions from these 5 people. And if they don't reach out and you don't hear anything, or we end up not wanting to go that route with them, then they'll reach back out and do a round 2 of auditions with more of like our picks.
So we have a better understanding, or our listeners and viewers do. Let's just go over how Deyan works as a publisher versus, for example, if I work, Don works, you work for Macmillan or Penguin Random House, specifically that publisher, whoever the creative person is at Macmillan, whatever it is, will reach out to the auditions, they'll hire and stuff. Deyan, and correct me if I'm wrong, and talk us through this, but Deyan, I believe, here are some different, they'll get stuff from Harper and Macmillan and all these other people will send things to you guys, say, you guys handle this book, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the process is different.
Yeah, so we're definitely in the third party publisher space is how we do productions. So we have we have clients with a bunch of different publishers, including just indie authors that, one-off do books. Some of my favorites I've actually done have been some of the indie authors. Those are always
Don writes a book,
fun.
the history of snare drums, which will really sell well, I'm sure. So he writes a book and he wants to send that to you guys.
He would contact our general manager, Jamie.
I know Jamie,
whose contact is on our website, and he would end up sending a rate card, and then just going from there. He would be the first point of contact, and then he would then send the book off, so to speak, to me or one of the other project managers at Deyan, and then we would get in contact with you and then start the whole process. With indie authors, it's definitely almost more custom because we get to talk directly to them. When we're talking to a publisher, we're talking to our client at the publisher. We're playing a lot of playing phone is kind of an exaggeration because it's mostly through emails and we're not really losing information that way, but we are talking back and forth. When I send auditions out, I'm mainly sending to a client at a publisher who then passes them along to the author. They communicate, and then I hear the decisions.
I see. So there's a lot of. I find it fascinating all the different ways things work, and I know from my experience with my colleagues and my students, a lot of them do public domain books. Or let's say Don writes his book and he wants me to narrate it, and I do it. I narrate it. We want you guys to distribute it. Do you guys? Do you do that? Does Deyan do that?
I'll be honest, I am not super familiar about the distributing side. I want to say yes, because I feel like in the 3 years I've been there, we've done something like that. I know that I know vaguely that we do work with Authors Republic with some of our indie authors.
Right.
So that's definitely an avenue that you can talk through with Jamie if you're trying to publish a book, and go through us for the audiobook side of it. But that's really all I know. I am pretty straight and narrow on the pre-production, helping with casting, names, dates, and then really tapped in and good on the post-production side.
Let's bounce a little bit. I asked you before we began, when we were introducing ourselves, your sweatshirt characters. So tell us about those guys and your love of the lit RPG world.
Oh yeah, so Dragon Ball Z sweatshirt has it's actually 3 different variations of the same character, depending on his power level, so to speak. Stronger he gets, his hair gets more long and more blonde. Eventually it turns blue.
Don's got the same thing going on.
I'm working the I have
Don's almost
hidden.
full strength.
The blue is hidden.
But the lit RPG genre, as we were just beginning to talk about, it's a really fun genre that hits close to home for me, because one of the reasons I started playing video games as a kid was to read. I started playing a lot of role-playing games, RPGs, and things like that. It was basically playing through a novel. You were reading paragraphs and paragraphs of text, and I really enjoyed them. And now, as the lit RPG genre is coming out, it's basically just a video game in book form. There's still stats. It's all of the fun, micromanaging, and all of that thought process, but you're just getting to read through it linearly instead of having to play through it.
I will say to our viewers and listeners, if you are looking for work and have a lit RPG affection or skill, that's a great place to work, because we were talking before, when these authors are prolific. I mean, every time you finish your 400-page book, that particular quest is ended, and there's always room for the next quest. It's like a Marvel movie, there's always gonna be something next. And these guys, by the time you're done saying the end, there's 3 more books ready to go in that series, almost always. I find it amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
did you go to the Lit RPG? There's a what was it called? Something con recently. Just last week.
Comic-Con.
Something was
Comic-Con.
Comic-Con. Was that what it was? There's
Yeah,
a
I'm
big
sure.
thing. People writing it.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it just happened just because I talked to some people today that had just gone. Anyway,
Because did you go to that?
me?
I did not know.
No, I
No,
don't.
no one can. Because I think they did in Denver, by where you are, by the way. One of my
They're
favorite cities, but I think they've hosted it a number of times.
Oh yeah, they definitely have.
Yeah. Denver is one of the places I would go live in a heartbeat.
I love it out here. I've always felt Colorado was one of those mythical places. I'm originally from about an hour outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I'd spent 10 years in Arizona where I got my degrees, and my wife got an opportunity working for a company that was remote out of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had an opportunity to move out here, and we took it. And man, I tell you what, I'm not leaving.
Are you in Denver? Are you in Denver proper?
We're in Lakewood, so west,
on
the west side.
Yeah.
But we're 15 minutes from Red Rocks, 15 minutes depending on traffic from downtown.
Yeah.
It's
such a great town.
Great spot.
Yeah.
So are you looking at trends? What do you think where's this business going based on what you're seeing?
Well, I definitely still think as always, everyone's going to talk about there needs to be more of a conversation with AI and blah, 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 and all that going on. I don't necessarily see audiobooks as a whole going anywhere. Of course, no one that I've talked to has seen them going anywhere, but I don't necessarily know what the future holds. I feel like every 3 weeks there's a new avenue and a new road opening up lately.
Now, Ray Conley has a question. What are, and I think it's an important question that we should look at.
I saw that
Ray,
one, and I
you
thought
bring up an interesting point. I think I'd like to counter with who is.
To be.
Yeah. Ray's not going to talk to you after this.
So when people are submitting something to you, is there anything that initially will kind of bother you if I submit something? And what do you see out there that people should be doing to make your life better when they're getting something to you? Because a lot of the actors don't know what they should be doing. I mean, they're constantly asking me the question, they said it should be raw. Does that mean I can't or shouldn't or don't? Or what's your take on what they should be sending you when you ask for different things?
So raw to me, and how I've always interpreted it and how I use it, is more on the not to say too much, more on the audio processing side. We want it just straight in and straight out. We don't want, EQ processing, compression. Really don't want any of that. We want the rawest audio possible, because especially how we do things at Deyan, we edit our audiobooks and then master them after the quality control process, so that we make sure everything is already nipped out. We have really specific QCers that listen to noises, have the right headphones, all of that type of thing, so that before we have to raise the volume, so to speak, all of the artifacts, problems, pickups, all of that's taken care of. And then our mastering team can really dial in on making sure that room tone's perfect and making sure that everything is just up to that volume spec. So because of that, in the raw audio is really just related to, like I said, just processing and making sure the audio signal is as raw as possible. But beyond that, that's really it. The audition process, we really just want to get a feel for your pace, at least on my end. We really want pace, and we just want the tone that you're setting for the character, for the narration, et cetera, and et cetera. When I listen to an audition, I'm never paying attention to room tone. If there's a couple, like a poppy T or a plosive or something like that, I'm not worried about it. I'm mainly just focusing on, are they reading the book at a good pace? Does it feel like do they sound like the book? Do they sound anything remotely close to what I was initially picturing based off the information I was given? And then the other nice part about what I do as a third party, though, is most of the time it's not up to me. So I get to make decisions. I get to feel how I want to feel, so to speak. And I get to send, comments, questions, and concerns with auditions. But for the most part, I'm sending them back to the publisher in totality and just saying, here are the 5 people that reached out. Here, I'll say, here's a link to, we build a casting page. So they have just like a little URL they can go to with a headshot and then small bio and your audio.
Really, headshots you use?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, if we have them on file, we will use them. In our contact page at Deyan, I believe, let me look through, there's not a spot for them, but when we reach back out and when you contact us, we add you to our narrator roster. So we can reach out, we can get a headshot, or our guy, Andre, that builds these casting pages when we send him the auditions. I'm pretty sure, I don't know for certainty, but he's kind of a wizard like that. I'm pretty sure he just knows where your headshots are and can just find them on the internet. Like, I'm sure we all could, but he's quick.
Oh, yeah.
He's good at it.
I just find it interesting because when you hear someone, I mean, I have nothing against it because Joanna takes my headshots and I like them. But I think if, like, let's say someone's voice is like this kind or something, and the head picture's Don Baarns, and it's not the voice you'd expect. And I think that can throw things off, because like my friend here is Dan Belmont's in this thing. He's a big guy. So let's say his voice is soft and high and it surprised you. Does that ever mess you up at all and think, wow, that's not the voice I expected to come out of that guy?
I mean, I've 100% said that before. Oh, that was not the voice I was expecting. But it's always just that. It's not the voice I was expecting from seeing the picture. And then I move on. I mean, one of my favorite stories of all time is the voice actor of Elmo.
Yeah. Well, even the Simpsons. I mean, that's not.
Absolutely.
Anybody. It's fascinating to me because I have another question. That it's when there's a specific style, and here's a story or a specific. Some people say genres. Audiences have expectations in given genres, and I object to that. I think whatever's happening in the book is what the expectation should be. No one in a book knows they're in a character in a genre. They're just in a book. That's their life. That's their world.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a whole bunch of deep, rich sounds, these kind of guys. And someone's kind of like crazy and like this guy, but gives you a different take. Not what you expect, but just different. That's somehow interesting. Can they, because of an interesting choice the actor made, can that help get them into the 5 you send on for the decision? Just because, wow, I didn't expect that's really interesting. Not what we wanted, not what we thought we were going to get, but interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it can go either way, to be completely honest. Sometimes it's interesting and it's a publisher that they do want us to trim down from the total number and only send them 4 or 5. So I might add that one and add a note that just says, this specific narrator sent in something that I wasn't expecting, but I enjoyed it.
I love
or something like that. Cause I definitely will do that 100%. I can't tell you in how many times I've thought I've heard something or thought I knew how I wanted something to sound. And then I've completely changed my mind after hearing one narrator, one different instrument in a session, someone, pointing it out, the entire spectrum of audio.
Yeah.
I do sound effects for books as well. And sound effects has also really taught me. And that's probably another reason why I don't care if you look different than you sound, and it doesn't throw me off because I know what walking actually sounds like. I know what it looks like when they record it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally different.
I know that to achieve a tape sound effect, I've broken a zucchini before. So I almost don't expect any sound to be what it is.
You'd be great in one of those old-fashioned, the old radio drama things, the Foley man, the sound guy.
Oh, I love radio dramas.
When I was in Chicago and I started out, I did a lot of voice stuff for a program from the Moody Bible Institute called Unshackled. It was like, come to Jesus stories because it's all there. But we did it live at this in downtown in the Bowery section, whatever I can't remember what it's called. Chicago. It was just nasty. So all these pretty much homeless, smelly people were there, and you do this live thing. But the Foley guy, sometimes I'd miss my cue because I was watching the guy do this cool stuff. You know, the sound, the thunder and all this stuff. I still think that's the most fascinating thing the sound effects amaze me all the time. Are you finding them used a lot in audiobooks these days, more than they used to be?
You know, I am starting to find that there is starting to become like a middle ground between what I would phrase as, for lack of anything better to call it, like pure audiobook, narration and room tone. That's all you get. And then the other side of the spectrum would be that full radio drama where it's fully voice acted. Every character is their own person, Foley guy, all of that. There's definitely starting to be an in-between. I've done sound effects for a detective series where there are chapters where he's doing, where the detective is doing interviews with potential suspects and stuff like that. So whenever they start the interviews, there is the sound of the tape going into the machine closing, and then the tape spooling up, and then it fades down into the room tone, but you're still hearing the like roar of the tape machine as it's recording the interview. So it's almost as if you're hearing the playback.
That's pretty cool. And I suspect as it continues to get broader, there will be more people in the middle ground that try some of this stuff. And
oh, absolutely.
That can be super distracting, or it can be done very well. And it takes people with good ears like you in order to, the problem, most narrators are not qualified to put those two things together effectively. One of the things being a musician, you understand the layers and how things fit on top of each other and around each other at a level that most people just don't ever think about. So there's an art to doing that in a way that adds, when a lot of times it's just like in the back of my picture, if I have a clown that's back here doing something, it's just distracting if that clown is coming and going and coming and going. And that's the same with the sound effects. If they're done right, they can add, but it's really hard to do them right. It's pretty rare.
What I'm finding is, so for instance, I've done more of like a radio drama as far as sound effects too. And it's almost with the radio drama, it's almost less artful with the sound effects, depending on the type of production. So the ones that I did, I was able to find sound effects that were already good. And since it was a radio drama, there was music in the background, there were things. So it was really just finding a sound effect, maybe some very light tweaking, some fading, and then placing the sound effect in its spot cue.
Right.
When it's this middle ground, you can't just do that.
Right.
Because for instance, the tape whir would be ridiculous for a 15-minute chapter. So you have to fade it in, you have to EQ it, and you almost have to sculpt the sound to where it's still within the same frequency range as the human voice and not going into that lower or higher harmonics.
Yep.
So you sculpt it and then lower it. So there's just that extra step, because audiobooks are so intimate, and that's really what I like about them. To pair it off of and go back to what Johnny was just saying, one of my first audiobook like series that I would listen to was back on cassette, and it was The Wild and Wacky World of Mr. Henry. And some of them were very radio drama. They had sound effects, animals, he was telling Bible stories, that whole thing. But some of them were just very intimate. I will never forget the way he told the story of Job, for instance, because there were no sound effects. It was him telling the story. So that intimacy is what led me from The Wild and Wacky World of Mr. Henry to start listening to, Disney audiobooks, which then turned into going to the library to just find audiobooks to listen to of different things and all of that. That intimacy, to use a more newer term, that almost like parasocial relationship you make with the characters listening to them when it's just narration and room tone. I feel like this middle ground, the sound effects are really helping to almost enhance that, as long as they fit within that sound spectrum.
Yeah. Say that word again.
Parasocial.
Parasocial. That's a new term to me. Explain that, please.
So I mainly hear this in terms of the rise of streamers and how their fans interact with them. A lot of fans of streamers or streamers feel like their fans actually know them.
I'm sorry. What's a streamer?
Someone that streams their life on Twitch. Are you familiar with Twitch? Yeah, so kind
Like
of
like a
kind of
live
like
streaming.
this. Yeah,
This.
live streaming.
Okay.
But there are people that live stream for 12 hours a day, just sitting in their room watching YouTube videos, telling jokes, bringing their friends over, eating food. That's all they do.
This show seems like talking to your grandpa.
I mean, some of them are pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes they have really funny guests. I mean, we're at the point now where there's a streamer named Kai Cenat who literally just brought Kevin Hart over to his house, and Kevin Hart just hung out for 12 hours, and they had a couple million people
12
watching.
hours?
Yeah, and they had a
No,
couple million people watch
that's
that
too
stream,
long.
and they played basketball, they told jokes,
Yeah.
they made fun of each other. That was just the whole thing,
If I could have Kevin Hart come over, then I think a lot of people would watch me too.
right?
I'll stop by the house, Don, for
Yeah.
about an hour and a half.
No, or Johnny Heller. I should have
Yeah,
put
you
that
can
in
watch
there.
me watch baseball. Yeah.
There's a couple questions. I need to go a different direction here just a little bit because I know this is something that people are really they are going to all ask. So does one have to? So Ray asked a good question. Does one have to be invited to join the narrator list that you keep? I mean, first off, do you have your own list or is it a master list for Deyan? And how do I get on your list? How do I get on your radar? And of course, I know you want us to call you personally, this afternoon. You're going to give out your number, but what's the best way to do it without irritating you? How do I get your attention without being a
So
nuisance?
the easiest way is on Deyan Audio's website. There is a contact form.
Mm-hmm.
If you fill out that contact form, there is an, like, what service are you looking for? This contact form talks a lot about productions for the most part, but anybody can use this contact form to get in touch with Jamie, our general manager, and he can very quickly push it off to the other project managers, including myself. At the very bottom of our website, under contact us as well, there's a team@deyanaudio.com. That email address goes straight to Jamie, and I believe also to our casting guy, Andre, and they will send you a more specified form if they can. And they will also forward that email to the project managers, putting you on our list, on our radar. That's really the easiest way to end up in my inbox as a narrator, is to go through that Team Deyan email address and then get pushed over to us.
Oh, I see it.
If I can help with that one, because you're suggesting that people go to your website and do what it says to do.
For lack of a better phrase, yes. I will admit that the contact us form that is on our site, if I was a narrator looking at it first time, I would definitely see this as I'm a publisher looking to make my audiobook, not a narrator. There is oh, you know what? I'm not seeing that link anymore. Interesting. I think our website might be being worked on. Anyway, there used to be, from what I remember, an extra button where it would bring to different services, but I'm not seeing that at the moment. But there's full name, email address, and then it talks about word count, full production, and things like that. At the very bottom, tell us about the project, date and times. This would be where I would brag about you a little bit and just let us know you're a narrator looking to work with us. And then that will get to Jamie, who gets to us down the pipeline. To answer your question about narrator lists, we do have a master list that all of our project managers work out of. The same filters, you know what I'm saying? It's just a big master list that we work out of. But as we do casting and as I've been in the job, I wouldn't say as specific as I have a list, but I know people more.
Right.
For instance, Courtney is in the comments saying it's nice to finally put a face to an email. We've worked on a couple projects together at this point. I've just worked with her, so I know what she sounds like. I already know all the extra of the work ethic, how she responds to emails, this, that, and the third. Her name's already has been filed before in the brain. So once the name has been filed, we're all really good about communicating that, talking about it. We don't, like, for lack of a better phrase, gatekeep our projects. So if I'm ever given a casting and I don't have a name that comes up immediately that I think will fit, I know the other two project managers, Mike or Jeremy, do. and they'll throw up names. I can go listen. When we send a more specific narrator form, you have the option to throw out Audible links, website links, so that everything on our master list is one click away. 99% of the time when I'm looking for a specific type of narrator, I can look for them and then just scroll to the right, and there is a Audible link right there to listen to their work before I ask for an audition.
As the project manager of a given title, whatever it may be, the Don Baarns book, we'll make it a pamphlet, the Don Baarns life story.
Should be
Yeah,
Post-it
yeah,
note.
a quick read. So here you're going to be when you're the project manager, are you seeing that book through from its somebody else already? I mean, you've already got it in the Deyan stable, so it's a Deyan book now. You guys are going to cast and produce it. Once you've cast Chris Walsh or Tom Barkley, one of these guys in it, or anybody, you cast them. They're the person. They're doing the book. They send it. It goes back to you. How much involvement do you have once you've cast? What's are you? Do you not pay attention to it until it's due, and then you go over and edit it?
So once it's my book, it's my book. I see it to completion. We have at Deyan, like we have different stations, so to speak, that they go through. You know, we have pre-production, we have our post team that comprises of editing and QC and then mastering. So we have heads of those departments as they go through, but I am always in talk with those heads, making sure dates are being matched, the project still lines up. They're communicating with us so that if anything needs to be brought back onto the publisher, you know, a narrator was in a car accident, they're totally fine, but they need, you know, they have to go get their car repaired tomorrow so they can go to a studio or something like that. So they need an extra day, you know, anything like that. I'm still on top of it and in the know, even if I might not for every single project directly message the editor that edited the book. I'm in direct communication with the head of the editing department for every book. We talk about everything. We all have access to the same pages, so to speak, in our system so that we can see where everything's are within the timeline. I'm also a little privileged as a project manager because I also run our processing intake. So whenever we have an audiobook going on and so they send in the raw audio, I'm the one that marks that off. If it's a home record, I mark it off. I fill out our production updates and all of that. So I have an extra leg up on knowing where my audio is, what it sounds like, and things like that.
Because you pursue so many of your own personal interests, music and all those other things, is this Deyan audio job, is it 40 hours a week? Is it standard? Is it 30? Is it 60? I mean, are you able to do all the things you enjoy with this job?
Absolutely. I'm definitely lucky that I realized that audio in general is kind of my passion. I really just enjoy anything. I love doing it. Sound effects, audiobooks, music, rapping, recording, all of it's super fun. So I do about 40 to 45 hours a week here at Deyan, whether it's any of the hats that I wear. And then I also spend a lot of my evenings doing music. I have a 9-month-old, so a lot of that has been put on hold.
Yeah.
But most Thursdays, I still have an artist that still comes through, and we are working on an album right now for him. I'm doing his vocal production. So I still do music. It's definitely more sparse. I kind of like that my main passion and my main gig is with Deyan because it does give me the time at night to work on my own music. I've started a dungeon synth project, which is basically video game music without a video game. So I'm just releasing music that sounds like it could fit in a video game from the early 2000s. So it gives me time to focus on that because when I worked at the studio in Texas, I loved it. I had a great time, but I really didn't want to go home and sit in my own studio and work on my music. I would listen to other people's music all day and enjoy it and want to work on their music and want to work on their music over my own.
Oh.
So it has been kind of nice to have over these past couple of years really refocus, and the music I'm thinking about now is mine again.
We need to cycle back here. So I hate changing subject, but Chris Wall, you earlier said when you were listening to auditions that pacing was important to you. Musicians always have a good sense of timing. It's a big deal. But he asked, you know, how do you measure pace? Are you looking at it by the chapter, by the scene? You're just going, now that feels right to me. Do you have some metrics? How do you handle that?
So I would say I would probably be lying if I say I didn't have metrics because I'm an editor. I edit audiobooks. So because I do that, I do have kind of an internal pace of what I normally set a comma, a period, a paragraph, what those things as. I would not go as far to say it's mathematical at all. It's very, very much give and play. If I think a comma should be zero point 0.3 of a whole second, I'm not going to every single one has to be 0.3 no matter what. There's going to be a +1 give or take minus on either side that I don't care about and let it lie. I try the kind of like in music, if it sounds good, it is good. If the narrator paces well, I let them pace and do their thing and try not to edit them at all as much as possible. The only time I would say I'm ever listening really hard to make sure the pace is weird, or if it's what I exactly want, is if it's like, for instance, if I get a Cormac McCarthy type novel where there's no punctuation, it's very stream of consciousness, there's no paragraphs, no chapters, it's just 300 pages, linear text in your face the whole time. I'm going to care a lot how you pace that book. And I'm really
James
going to
Joyce.
say, I really want, I need your commas to feel like commas because they're not there. If they're not actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we're doing more of a traditional, super well paced, like high literature, generational trauma novel, as a lot seem to be happening nowadays, with that one, it's going to be kind of in the middle. I want it to be concise. I want your commas and periods to always feel shorter than your paragraphs. But in the audition, I'm not counting them against you fully. It's more of just little notes because what we're looking for is, does it sound like the audition needs to be edited within 5 minutes? That's kind of how I think about it. If I have to make 1 or 3 edits for pacing in an audition, if I would need to, then the pacing's great and I don't have to worry about it. If I find myself wanting to make 1 or 3 edits within the first minute of a 5-minute audition or a 3-minute audition, then I'm going to pay more attention to your pace the whole time. But for the most part, it would be by scene. To answer the question real specifically and not ramble, it would be by scene. I measure it by scene, by paragraph, and just if it flows and makes sense to the listener.
Do you have some titles that you've worked on, or perhaps genres you work in that you just love or are really proud of, happy with?
I
Not that you're
absolutely
unhappy with
love
anything.
that mall architecture was awful. Actually, that was one of my favorite books I've
So
ever
that's
edited. It
so
was
it's
really interesting.
a book about
It,
because I've seen most malls I've been to from the time I was a lad till now look pretty much the same.
They do with really small differences, I found. Most of the architecture that's changed from that book, what I remember, it was a couple years ago now, was mostly to do with like parking lots and surrounding architecture and already like what's built around the mall already. That has grossly changed.
See, what
Um,
fascinates me is that fascinates you.
I took that project going, this is going to be a rough 20 hours of work. I'm not, I'm going to be reading it. I'm going to be falling asleep. It was really interesting because it talked about just the complete history, how malls started as really a big gimmick to sell AC. They didn't have windows. They were like casinos.
Yeah.
They didn't have windows. They were, you walk in this way, you go through the entire mall, you leave. You go to your car,
Or you
you
drive
run.
through like in the Blues Brothers.
Yes. Yeah. Or they did have like the first, yeah, drive through malls,
One
100%.
of one of my favorite scenes, they're driving in the cop car, getting shot at, and they're pointing out the stores they're seeing. See, that's a good book.
But it also talked about the social economic factors of them. Like it talked about a lot of how like malls are some of, or at least back in the day, so to speak, in the 90s specifically, in the 90s, they were the peak place for air conditioned walking and exercise.
Oh,
Malls, they specifically talked about how like the author, the mall that he grew up next to in the 90s, every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, was just open 2 hours before it was actually open. None of the stores were open, but it was there and it was AC'd, and anybody could show up to just walk around and just walk and get
Oh, they did.
exercise. and how that is dying rapidly in malls nowadays in the 2020s.
Well,
So I've
when malls first came around, people, that's kids, teenagers, that's where we all worked.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You spent your summer working in whatever store in the mall would hire you, because that's where you hung out anyway. I'm telling you, in high school, that's where everybody hung out.
Oh, it still was like that for me in high school. It was definitely starting to phase out, but it was high school. There was one social club that you could kind of go hang out in, but that was on its way out and already
Yeah.
starting to become sketchy, as most of them did. But yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting book. I do most of the Goosebump books that Deyan Audio gets. I love them.
What's
Uh,
tell us more about that. I'm totally ignorant. What's a Goosebump book?
So the
Is that
R.L.
Braille?
Stein, is it Braille? I like that. No, so Goosebumps is the author R.L. Stein wrote some horror for children, basically little horror stories for children, and they are great. I grew up going to Scholastic book fairs and just seeing uh, Night of the Living Dummy,
Oh,
Calling
yeah.
All Creeps, Why Am I Afraid of Bees, which was my personal favorite because my last name's Honeycutt. So anything bee related, I'm always clocking it. So I just, I grew up seeing these and thinking they were great, and then started managing projects at Deyan, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to take on Goosebumps?" And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Please, I would love to. This is what I want.
They're wonderful, quirky stories where something will happen that a kid turns into a kid eats a pie is not supposed to, turns into a monster, or just weird ass things. And they've made, I think Jack Black's been in a bunch of Goosebumps movies, and there's they're on, there's
I believe
a
so.
whole bunch of Goosebumps. This guy is prolific.
He's great. And I mean, it's not just Goosebumps anymore either. R.L. Stein has the House of Shivers, I believe he also does, which is like a subsect spinoff.
Is that
I
the one with the
believe
house with the
there's,
clock in its face? Is that's because that's
I believe so.
yeah, I think so too.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I also know that he has what he considers like his girls spinoff of Goosebumps. That's more just like kind of creepy and quirky stories geared towards the more like girl summer camp vibe.
Yeah.
And then one other series that I'm not super familiar with. But I really enjoy those. They're all super weird. I love that. What I really like about Goosebumps is not all of them end with a happy ending.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been really lost in this day and age.
I agree.
Like there's just like I can vividly remember being a kid and having like The Land Before Time and some early educational stuff. Bear in the Big Blue House like would make me sad, but would make me sad to teach me it's okay, and things like that. And I feel like I don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
Well, the original fairy tales, Grimm's and those are nasty.
Awful.
Horrible. The original, I mean, they don't end the way we were told. And when you read you get back to the originals, Rapunzel was
Some of them are downright
things happen.
horrible.
Yeah, the what's the one with the three? I can't think of it. The horrible sisters and the
Cinderella.
And they chop off the sister's feet. The end.
Mm-hmm.
They did some horrible things. No kid's gonna walk out of that thinking that was wonderful. Let's get a milkshake. That's not happening.
I know Disney. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, changed history.
Oh yeah,
the way he was able to take those.
Yeah,
but that's what I really like about the Goosebumps, though. I like that. I mean, the one that I edited most recently, one of the ones I worked on was Calling All Creeps, and that one literally ends with the protagonist being like, you know what? I'll have more friends if I'm a bad guy. And then it just ends with him having that realization. He's just like, tomorrow, I'm gonna have a lot of friends. And then the book ends, and you're like, all right.
The one we did ends without the ending. It has to be another story.
I wouldn't be surprised.
With the camera that ruins people. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't end. We don't know what's happening.
I also have to agree with Shannon in the comments. I love Baba Yaga stories. Absolutely demented, but they always are so interesting. A lot of
I can't read
lore from
Baba Yaga. Area. What's that? I don't know Baba Yaga.
I don't even know how to like simply describe it. I feel like I don't know the root story really that the Baba Yaga is from. I've just heard all of the internet's interpolations over the years. But I believe it's almost Baba Yaga is kind of like a boogeyman parallel.
Oh, I've never even often. That's something for me to look up. That's why I like doing these shows. I'm always learning new things. I'm going to look up Baba Yaga when we're done.
And I'm always looking for more nightmare-inducing things
Yeah.
because that's a hole in my sleep pattern.
Yeah,
Is-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, quick Google search, and that tells me that I was pretty on the nose. It's a East Slavic folklore, witch in a hut eats children.
Like kind of like a golem kind of thing. Yeah.
A golem, or like the witch from Hansel and Gretel, just
Yeah.
not sweets.
Yeah. Well, kids, according to these fantasy adventure stories, kids are apparently quite tasty.
They do all seem to agree that children are delectable.
What's for dinner? I'm hoping for kid.
So if so where anything you see coming up on the horizon that you would expect people should be paying attention to, where should their attention be moving forward here, like starting from today? Is there any things that you're seeing the sound effects come in a little bit? You're seeing what
yeah.
else are you seeing on the horizon here?
I would say being open and looking out for jobs with sound effects. I definitely think that's going to be popping up more and more. I also think anthologies are starting to pop back up on the rise more. I feel like I'm starting to see more just anthologies in general, which is great because I love those in the audiobook world.
Okay, so what's an anthology?
Collection of short stories. I would say probably the main underlying theme is what connects them together. So anthologies of horror all pertaining from one region or area of the world or something like that.
Okay. What's a pronoun?
Wrong business.
No, I mean, half the time I don't know the words. It's same with musicians, by the way. So, world famous musician. There are narrators out there that don't know how any of this stuff works. Now, and then there are narrators like Heller who know not only he can tell a great story, but he knows why it's a great story. He knows the details, how to break it down, and the little all the nuances that are there. And musicians do the same thing. I know musicians that play really well and have no real idea. They don't know music theory. They don't know some of the details, but they can do it. Just like some people can talk they might learn a new language and they couldn't write it, but they can speak it, and they just don't know a pronoun or a preposition. They may not know how it's constructed, and that's okay. So there are narrators that obviously. Do you look for somebody that has theater training? Do you look for somebody that has a specific background? What attracts you to a specific narrator? Do you know?
In all honesty, especially coming into the pre-production world, knowing nobody, I hadn't, I've really gotten into the audiobook world by just stumbling into hat after hat and saying yes and wanting to do it because I love the field. So I didn't really have a whole lot of connections. I've been learning names as I've gone through. Names really is just the number one thing that really pops out to me when I'm looking for stuff and scrolling through a master database. But as far as credentials or anything like that, so to speak, we occasionally will have publishers saying this is a more high profile talent or high profile project. So we want higher profile talent. Maybe look for people that have X type of certificate. Like no one's ever going to say they need to have some type of literary award from John Marshall. And if they don't, I don't want them. But they are going to say someone that has been someone that I can easily Google and find their awards, or it's like something like that. So when that is mentioned, yeah, absolutely. I'll go through them and I'll look and I'll say, oh, this looks like a very similar award. Let me go listen to your Audible now, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't mention it, absolutely not. I am 100%. I love that people get them. I'm someone that got certified in Pro Tools at 7 different levels to make sure that I, fully expand everything and can do it and can teach people how to audio engineer and everything like that. But I would never expect anyone to look at my certificates. I would never want someone to only hire me just because I have a Pro Tools Level 7 cert. I want them to talk to me and see my work. or something like that. So I try really hard. If they want it, if the publisher wants it, absolutely. I can find people that have those awards or similars or stuff like that. But if it's up to me, I'm rarely ever going to look at them. I'm more curious about what is your setup if you're a home narrator and what's other work you've done. And I just want to listen. I want to go to Audible. I want to go to your website. I just want to be able to listen to you and get it. I love going to Audible and just pulling from different things. If a narrator has like a really good genre breakdown of samples on their website, I do enjoy playing those and then going and finding a book in the like opposite genre and on Audible and trying to see if they sound similar and things like that. That is how I'll like test a narrator, so to speak. If they say something is a cozy mystery, I'm going to go find a rom-com and see if they sound similar. And if they don't, awesome. If they do, and they both sound great still, I'm still going to audition you.
So
it's almost personal fun more than anything else.
So if, let's say I send you in an audition and it's a 30-minute audition, which I know makes you very happy. How long will you listen before you figure out, or, well, maybe. I mean, on average, you get an audition. What is it? 30 minutes? 30 seconds?
I'd say most auditions I get are probably in between 3 and 5. And I'll listen to the first minute straight up. I'll listen from start to the first minute. And then I'll probably jump around and maybe jump 30 seconds and listen to 20 seconds. And then I might skip back 45 seconds. I'm just going to start clicking around the audio source and listening to 30 seconds to a minute and then jump somewhere else. And then if I'm narrowing down, I'll do one round of like that. And then I'll do a second round of fully listening to it from start to finish for everybody to make sure that there's not any extra little unique things. Oh, that person used a character voice I didn't hear when I was skipping around, and I like that. You know, things like that. Because that's definitely happened before, where through skipping, I've been like, man, I can't, you know, I'm not knowing the difference between these two on which one I'd prefer. They both sound great. So I'll touch base with one of the other project managers and be like, if you had to pick between these two, who would you pick? And they'll say something like, that laugh that they did that's in the text is amazing. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't even hear that laugh when I was skipping back. And I'll go through and hear it and go, oh, yeah, no, that's literally that character. And then that'll be the one that pushes it, or this or that. Or I have chosen a narrator over a different narrator for the quality of their breaths, but that was super rare and specific. And I was probably already spent 45 minutes trying to decide between the two because they were really good. So I went with which one would probably be less editing in the long run at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
well,
it really depends. Every project is completely different. I try not to, sorry.
Oh, no, you carry on, please.
I was just going to say, I try not to cast everything the same. Even though I do a bunch of different Goosebump books, I try not to cast the previous Goosebump book that was they wanted a female for a 12-year-old girl. The next 12-year-old girl narrator that I need, I'm not going to try to think about them the same way. Completely different project, different vibe. Read the book, go from there. I have a outline formula, but nothing specific in how I try to do my workflow.
Blake, what I was getting to, we're nearing the close of this, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for your honesty, your openness, and I really love to hear the way you work. I respect it. I appreciate it. You look like you're looking for the best possible way to engage the listener in a great story.
And I want everybody to get engaged. I want the reader to enjoy it. I want the narrator to have done it. I very much still almost have that studio philosophy of the higher an admin you get in a studio, your job is to make the people lower than your job's easy so that good music comes out. My job in managing projects is to make sure you, Johnny, don't have to worry about anything. You show up, you read the damn book, and then you send it to me and it's a great book afterwards. So everything I can do to make that happen, I try.
That's just great. We do. See, you can put Shannon's thing up there real quick because there's a quick last minute question. Then we'll.
If there's an obvious comedic moment, will you seek out that moment to see how the joke lands? So in other words,
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I will admit, has there been an obvious joke that I missed when I was cutting the sides? So I didn't see it and had and was renamed. That has happened once. I'll admit it. But for the most part, yeah. When I'm cutting sides and when I choose to use this for audition material, 90% of the time I'm choosing it because that joke made me laugh and I want to hear it told.
We should know, Blake, do you want anybody to reach out and contact you specifically, the people, because this show is going to be on, we have the viewers now, listeners now, and they're going to be YouTube listeners later. Do you want
Yeah,
them to reach out to you?
absolutely. I believe that my LinkedIn and my Instagram are linked in the description of this, and if they are, narrators can absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I do have like a 9-month-old right now, so I'm not gonna promise I will get back to you
Wait, you don't
within an hour.
wait. We have priority here. Come on. What's wrong with you?
Well,
I do
that's
my
great.
best. I'll do my best.
Okay.
But no, definitely feel free to reach out. I have zero problem shooting over a contact or shooting me a message and letting our guy know, hey, this person just reached out if you want to touch base with them and make sure they're in the system, yada, yada.
Are you okay with me putting your LinkedIn link in the chat here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or sometimes people want to go, well, if they can't look it up themselves.
No. 100%. Instagram and LinkedIn, totally fine to post.
Yep, there it is there.
Excellent.
So it'll be there for people to look at. And Johnny, you have anything coming up here that you I should say Blake though. Wait, Johnny, stand by. Blake, is there anything else that you want to promote or tell us about before we close up here?
Nothing at the moment. We do have a couple things on the horizon that I'm definitely excited to come out, but nothing that I can talk about just yet.
Oh, tease.
Hate to do it to you, but
Yeah.
Okay. Johnny, what do you have going on that's fun?
I've got a big dinner coming up tonight, but I can't tell you yet what I'm going to order. Paul and I blew off we're not doing the Philadelphia workshop. So the next thing I'm certain we're looking to go, Paul Rubin and I, to Chicago, my hometown, to maybe do a workshop there. Listening to Blake, I think I might set up another wait, that's fun. I forgot to no. Stop. Can't talk now. Sorry. My phone went off. I'm thinking of going to Denver again. I love that town. Sean Pratt and I.
If you're in town, we'd love to grab lunch or dinner.
Oh yeah, and the New England Narrator Retreat, October 13th to 16th. We still have some room. It's our 10-year anniversary. We'd love for you to come. JohnnyHeller.com. You know where to go, and we have room for a few more people. So you can join us there if you want. That's it for me, except Dracula comes out today from Spotify. I'm very excited about it because it's multicast and it's Dracula. And I'm British and all of it. And Don, what do you got?
I will answer Ellie's question. The Instagram handle is for Deyan Audio. So you'll have to query that way. I don't see one specific.
Oh, you know what? Let me get that for you real quick then.
Okay. And so I have my new ACX pre-check is going to go out tomorrow. It'll go live. But I mean, it's been in beta here for the last week, and I've had hundreds of people check it out, and it's doing insanely well. So I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. So it'll be live tomorrow for everybody else, but I still could use a couple more testers for the final thing. So if you haven't tested yet, give me a shout, and we'll do that. So we'll be sure to put it in the show notes and the Instagram. I do find the Deyan Audio. And so you can find that on Instagram. I don't see yours directly. So
I did just send it to you via Messenger so you can add it to the description or whatever needs to be done.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll add that in there. And so you guys have a fantastic day. And Johnny and I, actually, though, I got to give you a notice here. We're off here for a month. We're off in August, and next week starts August. We'll be back in September. We've done this for a couple of years already. We'll be back for another year, but we're taking August off because it gets warm. And we like cool. So we'll be cool starting in September. So thank you for joining. Be sure to share, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. And as always, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. Have a great day. See you next week. Bye-bye.